All right, hello everybody. It's the Meister from Brews and Tunes. I am very, very excited, very thrilled today to have Will Carroll from Death Angel on the show. So thank you so much, Will, for joining me. I'm really excited to chat with you.
My pleasure, man. Happy to be here.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I guess to start off, what's been going on? I know. I don't want to dwell on it. I know you've done a lot of interviews about COVID in the past year, but how are you feeling? How's your health?
Feeling great, man. I'm healthier now than I've been in the past 10 years plus.
Oh.
But things are going great. I'm drumming a lot, and my drumming's in top form, and feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Excellent.
Being very active.
Very good. And so it was just announced just very recently in the last week or two that Bay City Strikes Back tour coming in the fall with Death Angel, Exodus, Testament. So kind of, jumping back on from where you guys left off, but, in the States. So that's very exciting news. Can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, I'm totally stoked about that. And it's exactly what you said. We're just continuing where we left off, and hopefully there'll be better results by the end of this tour.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And so you'll be touring the Humanicide album, which is what you were touring with at the time. So I've got a copy of this.
More or less, yeah. I mean,
album.
It's a little bit after the fact now. Unfortunately, our tour cycle got cut short for obvious reasons.
Right.
But so technically we are still touring for Humanicide, but the set list won't really reflect that. We're going to be covering our whole catalog. We won't be just focusing on Humanicide. It'll have a little bit of everything on the set.
Oh, great. Excellent. That's great news. Now, have you guys been working on any new material at this point?
A little bit. During the pandemic, Rob sent me some new music that's kick-ass. It's great. So we were working on that for a little while, but then we had some live streams and other things to distract us. And now we're gearing up to play in Holland in a month. We're playing the Dynamo Festival. Oh. And then shortly after that, we go on the Bay Strikes Back tour. So we are working on new stuff, but it's kind of slow moving right now because we have other things to focus on, playing live,
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's exciting. And so is there, maybe it's too early to, maybe this is too early, but, is there kind of you guys planning on getting in the studio once this tour is done, or?
That's the plan, but we keep on getting offered amazing tours for next year. And some of those tours are impossible to say no to. So obviously we're going to get in the studio at some point next year, but I can't really determine when that will be because we're going to be on the road a lot, it looks like.
Cool. Well, that's good news for the fans like myself.
Yeah.
It's very exciting to, and that's one thing I'd say. I mean, obviously, Death Angel, one of my all-time favorite thrash bands, huge fan. I've always loved Death Angel, great albums, but I think the live experience, as much as I love the albums, the live experience of Death Angel is something I think every metal fan needs to see because it's such a high energy show.
Oh, thanks, man. I have to give credit to the guys up front. They keep the show entertaining, running around and doing all the things they do. I'm just back there playing the drums, but I try to put as much energy into it as well. And I can speak for the band that it's very important to deliver live as much or even more than the album. Nothing sucks more than being disappointed by a band's live performance. And I've been really into a band and loved their album and go see them live, and they weren't so great. And the funny thing, how it turns out, I never listened to that album again. So
right.
It's really important to deliver live and make sure the people get their money's worth.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing I think, which has always been really cool about you guys is that you are, professional musicians and high caliber professional musicians, but you're also entertainers. Case in point, the last time I saw you was a few years ago, pre-pandemic, obviously, and there was some sound issues. I think Ted's guitar shorted out or something was going on, but Mark started cracking jokes, telling jokes. He told the story. So I'm in Utah. He told the story about how that you would always wanted to get a Heavy Metal Shop t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
and Kevin was closed that day. So
Yeah,
I think somebody,
man. It wasn't a short walk either. It was a long walk to get there.
yeah.
And yeah, they were freaking closed. I was pretty bummed. Yeah, totally.
Cool thing, yeah, I think a fan threw a shirt up on stage for you or something, from what I remember. Yeah. I was in the back up in the bar, but so it was kind of hard to see, but it looked like somebody threw a t-shirt up on stage. I'm like, I think somebody just threw a t-shirt up there. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, that was the cool thing, is like, even though there were some technical issues, I mean, you guys didn't miss a beat. I mean, as soon as as soon as the sound guys got it running up again, I mean, it was like right back into the song. It was great. So which is, again, very cool to experience, definitely live.
Is that shop still open? The Heavy Metal Shop is still there?
Yeah. In fact, I'm wearing the 32-year anniversary t-shirt, which came out in 2019. So yeah, he's still going. Yeah,
That's
opened up. Yeah, he opened up in '87. I was in high school, and yeah, he's still going strong, which is cool.
Well, one of these days I'll get to see the interior. I got to know the outside of it very well. But yeah, one day I'll get inside there.
Nice. Well, yeah. Hopefully, when you're here in the fall, you'll be able to get over there.
Right.
And I think you're here. I think it's during the week, so I think you should be able to get in there. So
great.
I'll tell Kevin that you're coming.
All right.
Make sure he's open that day.
He has fair warning.
Yes. Yeah, we'll make sure he's aware. So that's great. So some other things that you've been doing, and maybe I don't know if this is a kind of a pandemic thing or if you did this before, but you've been doing a lot of DJing, correct?
Yeah. And I was doing that before the pandemic, but once places started opening back up and there still wasn't like live shows to go to or live shows to play, I just was like, man, I want to get back into DJing. I got to do something, Yeah. I want to interact with people, and if I can't play metal live behind the drum kit, then I can at least spin it on a turntable. It's fun, So once the bar that I was DJing at pre-pandemic opened back up, they asked me immediately to come back because they needed some business to come in, and it's taken off really well. Before the pandemic, I was doing it once a month, and now it's every Thursday.
Oh, wow.
And it's definitely has a built-in crowd. Every metalhead in San Francisco is coming out to it pretty much every Thursday. So it's a cool scene, and I love doing it. A lot of fun. I do it with another guy named Manny, so we switch off every half hour. He does a set, I'll do a set, and we're there for 6 hours. It's 6 to 12. So if it was 4 hours, I could do it myself, but 6 hours, I need some help. That's a lot of records.
Yeah.
But it's a blast, man. I love it. The place I do it at is called The Willows, and it's in South of Market, San Francisco, and it's great, man. People seem to dig it.
Nice. That's really cool. Yeah. What a great, downtown San Francisco. Love that. Sounds like.
Yeah. I also have a radio show that I've been doing for 2 years plus now, on a thing called Gimme Metal. It's an app you can put on your phone, your tablet, your computer. It's free, and it's like a 24-hour heavy metal radio station. There's shows on all the time, and other people that have shows are like Dave Mustaine. He has a show every Thursday afternoon. Randy Blythe, Ross the Boss. And they have tons of guest DJs all the time.
Wow.
And I have a show every Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And my show is called The Fool Metal Jacket, FOOL, The Fool Metal Jacket. It's like my show just aired like an hour ago or 2 hours ago. So it's a lot of fun, man. I've been doing that, for almost 3 years. And that kept me sane during the pandemic because that stopped, I mean, I could still make shows and send them in from home, even during the lockdown. So that kept me sane. And I had some semblance of a connection with the fans and with other metalheads. So that was a saving grace. It's great. I love it. And I plan to do it for as long as I can.
That's great. That's really cool. As far as both your radio show and your DJing, maybe this is kind of a dumb question, but I'm curious if is it something, do you kind of approach it thematically, or is it kind of a little more loose, or just like, hey, this is what I want to play right now, or do you kind of have a plan, a set list kind of planned out?
Not a dumb question at all. I solely do themes. Every Monday is a theme. Like today was iron. Every song had iron in the title. There's no shortage of that in heavy metal.
Yeah.
And usually when I DJ at the bar, I'll do a preview of the songs I'm going to be playing the following Monday. So like next week's theme is city. Every song has the word city in the title. Right. So there's going to be a lot of glam rock on that show. You know, and like upcoming themes, I have a heavy metal mascot episode. So I play all bands that have a popular mascot, like Iron Maiden, obviously, and Overkill, Anthrax, Megadeth with Vic Rattlehead. So yeah, I have a lot of fun. In the past I've done like a Christian metal show. I've done an all satanic metal show. Like every song has the word Satan in the title. But I'm not above anything. I like Christian metal. You know, I think some of those bands are great, you know. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it though. And you know, when I first started, I was doing themes kind of sporadically here and there, and they encouraged it. The theme shows were more successful than the non-theme shows, so they encouraged me to keep going with it. So I've taken the ball and ran with it for sure.
That's great. How much planning do you put into? I mean, you're probably listening to a lot of music all the time anyway, but I mean, are you know, kind of, I guess, just going through your playlist and going, okay, I need to find songs with this title in it, or do you usually have things in mind, like right off the bat?
It depends on what the theme is. Like, so, like one of my themes was death. Every song had death in the title. I ended up having to do 4 parts of that because there's so many songs. So that was a really easy show to put together. But then, like, I've done a profanity special where every song has the word fuck or shit, or very, very, very mature stuff here.
I love it.
You know, that one's a little more difficult to put together because I just didn't go off of songs on my playlist. I had to go through my records and, you know, sometimes even look online and seek songs out. And of course, I listen to them, and if I like them and they fit the vibe of my show, then I put them on. So it depends on what the theme is. You know, some are really easy and some are really hard, you know?
Right. And it sounds like you're really stretching out for like all, you know, the different subgenres, and, you know.
I pretty much play anything except for new metal.
Okay.
No new metal. No way.
Right on. Sounds good. Well, that's cool. That's exciting. I've read about it, but I need to check out your show. I need to get on Give Me Metal, and I'll include a link so people can check it out.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to listen to that. So let's go back in time a little bit. How did you originally get started in music? What was kind of the impetus of you know, Will Carroll getting into music or starting playing as a drummer?
Well, getting into music was seeing the gatefold for Kiss Alive 2. I saw that before I heard him, and that made a huge impression on me. I mean, it'll make a huge impression on any 5-year-old who loves Star Wars and fireworks, you know,
Right.
And horror movies. So then I listened to the record, but this is when I was 5, and what I heard just was a perfect companion to what I saw in the gatefold. Like it was a perfect mixture, you know. So I loved it from the get-go. So Kiss is completely responsible for me getting into music, not drumming, but music. Peter Criss isn't much of a drummer, and even though Kiss is my favorite band, I do see the writing on the wall. I know Peter Criss is not much of a drummer to write home about. So I got into drums by default, actually. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and my 3 older siblings all were in school band, and they're all older than me. My sister's 10 years older, the next brother's 9 years older, and then the next brother's 6 years older. So They were already in school band, and so music was always happening in my house. My father was a Irish folk singer, and so music was encouraged in my house. So when I finally got to the age where the school band program was starting up, I think it's in 4th or 5th grade. I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to be a guitarist. I wanted to be up front and get into it with the crowd and just be in the spotlight. So I went to school band the first day, and they didn't have guitar. They had like clarinet and flute and symphonic band stuff. And I was like, well, there's no saxophone in Kiss. Like, what the hell, man? The only thing that was in the room that was connected to Kiss or to rock and roll was drums. And I was like, oh man, I gotta play the drums. Like, I totally did not want to be in the back. I wanted to be in the spotlight. I wanted to be a lead singer too, but so I started playing the drums, and I had a knack for it right away. And my parents could see that, so they bought me a drum set almost immediately. I had a drum kit in the garage, so I started playing a trap kit, and that's how it started. I was playing shows by the time I was 13, I think. And yeah, like my first kit was a double bass kit too. It was a total circus drum set. Like, it was like 10 different colors. It was like 4 different kits put together from 2 different garage sales,
Nice.
But I had 2 kicks early on. So I was playing metal at a young age, and that's how it all started. And drummers that inspired me, or it's like, even when I was playing drums on a trap kit, I was still like reluctant. I still wanted to be a guitarist, but there was no way my parents were going to buy me a second instrument. They're like, you have the drums, stick with it. So when I realized I was stuck playing drums, I started paying attention to good drummers, or just to albums that had fantastic drumming. So obviously John Bonham was an early influence. It still is. But Alex Van Halen, Eric Carr, Bobby Blotzer. I hate to say this, but Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee's drumming on the first 3 Motley Crue albums is fantastic.
It is.
I don't think much of his drumming or of him so much these days, but his drumming on the early albums was kick-ass. So he was an influence on the early years. And then when I started listening to heavier music, Gar Samuelson, Glenn Evans from Nuclear Assault, huge influence on me, huge. And when I got older, I learned to appreciate Keith Moon. I've always been a Who fan, but I just thought Keith Moon was kind of sloppy and just kind of reckless behind the drum kit, which he was. But when I got older, I realized how brilliant and amazing, and I love them now. And the Who are in my top 5 favorite bands. So Keith Moon, and then when I started getting into even more heavy music, Mike Smith from Suffocation, huge influence on me. I think he's my favorite death metal drummer. And then when I got older and my musical taste started expanding, I got really into David Bowie, mid-70s David Bowie, and his drummer at the time, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. God damn it. The drummer from Low in the late 70s albums. I love his drumming too. Dennis Davis. God damn it. I can't believe I forgot his name. Dennis Davis, great drummer. So later on in life, he was a big influence for me. Cedric Sharpley from Gary Newman. I think he's a great drummer. So yeah, I kind of spread myself out when it comes to drumming. But yeah, there you go.
Great. That's great. That's fascinating. It sounds like you listen to.
I don't know if I mentioned Eric Carr, but he was a big inspiration on me. He's a very underrated drummer, man. Like, his double bass technique was better than a lot of thrash metal drummers, actually. And he could have been a thrash metal drummer. Fantastic.
Yeah, he was really fast. Yeah. He could swing too, which was cool.
Totally.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Eric Carr as well. I think he's a great drummer. And you can hear, especially on this last album, Death Angel album, the Humanicide there's a lot of different stylistic things happening in there with your drumming. You look at, there's some tracks where you're playing pretty goddamn fast. It's incredible.
The second song, Divine Defector, that's definitely inspired by death metal drumming for sure.
And then there's that heaviness, some of the slower stuff where it's got almost that Led Zeppelin sort of vibe to it, that Bonham vibe. That's pretty cool.
I mean, Death Angel's a band of many colors. You know, they don't stick just to strictly to the fast thrash metal mold. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, most of the album is in that vein, but there's a few curveballs always on each Death Angel album. That's the way Rob writes, and people come to expect that. You know, and that's one of the things I love about Death Angel is we're not painted into a corner and just only playing fast thrash metal songs all the time. You know.
Yeah, well, I agree. That's one thing I've always loved about the band is it's a band that's always stayed true to the thrash metal roots, but it's never been stagnant. It's always grown. I think Testament's very similar, where it's where there's other bands in that same genre that I like still, but it's like they decided to do an album with a symphony. It's like, what are you doing? You're a thrash metal band, but you guys have always.
Yeah, I wonder who you're talking about.
I don't know. But it's like, I don't know. There's this, that's one thing I've always loved about Death Angels. It's always been heavy, but there's always a lot of really interesting things happening, and the musical, the prowess of the band, the musicianship has always been very tight and very interesting. And yeah, like you said, there's always something new that's coming out on the albums, but still staying true to that thrash metal vibe, which is what
right.
So speaking of Death Angel, so you joined in 2009, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. How did that come to be? Did you try out? Did they contact you? Did you know them already?
Yes, and yes. No, yes. It wasn't really a tryout. So yeah, they knew me, of course. I went to high school with Ted Aguilar.
Oh, okay.
And so I've known him since I was 15. Our first three bands, the first three bands I was in, he was in with me. Armament, Warfare, DC, and Brood. So those were his first three bands and my first three bands. Then we branched off in the 90s. But so he knew me. I knew Mark fairly well. And everyone seemed to think it was Ted who got me in the band, but it was actually Mark who suggested me. They knew of me. I've been drumming in the metal scene, the Bay Area metal scene, since 1987 or 88. And I've been in a lot of bands, and the most popular band I was in the Bay Area was a band called Old Grandad. Okay. And we supported Death Angel on their New Year's Eve show from 2002 to 2003. So they definitely knew of me, and they knew of my drumming. And Mark, when the previous drummer announced he was going to be leaving, Mark said right away, let's get Will Carroll. And I remember being at a Carcass show in San Francisco and seeing Mark, and Mark started talking to me about the drummer playing up there and just talking about drums in general. And that wasn't a normal conversation I'd have with Mark. We'd usually just be talking about going to the bar and having a drink and laughing and telling jokes and stuff. But this is the first time he ever talked to me about drums. So I kind of knew something was up. I had a suspicion that he was feeling me out maybe. And then Ted contacted me days later and said, Andy just quit the band. And he's like, Ted knew I knew Death Angel songs. I've been a fan, for the better part of my life. So I knew their whole discography more or less. And Ted's like, I know you know the songs, dude. Just come to the studio like next week and just play the songs, dude. And I was like, sure. So I went there like a week later to Oakland to their studio and jammed. I knew like maybe 15 songs or 20 songs by heart. So we pretty much did a full set of songs the first time we jammed, and I never left.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
That's very cool. As far as the you've been on the last 4 albums, soon to be 5.
Yeah, and a live album.
Oh yeah, and the live album. Yeah, exactly. So as far as the writing goes, is it a collaborative effort with the band members? Is it kind of how does that work? Do you guys kind of figure things out in the studio, or is it more like Rob comes up with a riff or Ted comes up with a riff and then Mark writes some lyrics, or kind of what's the process there?
Rob writes the lion's share of the music. Up until the last album, he wrote 100% of the music in this version of Death Angel. Ted finally got a song on an album on the album, on the last album, he wrote Alive and Screaming. But yeah, Rob writes the lion's share of the music, and he'll bring it into the studio, or he'll send me like files through email, and he just says check them out. Sometimes they have a drum beat to them, like a drum machine. Sometimes they don't. And when we get together in the studio, he's pretty open to my suggestions. He's 100% open to my suggestions. If I don't like a beat that he programmed, I'll throw something else out, and usually like 95% of the time, my ideas stick. So in that aspect, it's very open. Like it's a very give and take thing. But he does write the songs. But as far as arrangement, I definitely help out with that. And he likes my suggestions. If I say maybe you should hit a minor chord right there, or maybe do that part twice, or that part doesn't sound evil enough, let's evil it up. I say that a lot. Like let's evil it up, man. So
I love
it. So he's very receptive, and it's a fun process, And as far as lyrics, Mark writes most of the lyrics, but Rob writes a few songs per album, and yeah, that's how it goes. And Ted had a song on the last album, so I'm assuming he'll probably have a song, maybe two, or maybe he'll be involved with Rob's songs a little more. Well, we'll see.
Nice.
Very fun process, though. Very fun process.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds cool. I mean, it sounds like it is fairly collaborative, even though you have a main songwriter. It sounds like it's a very healthy and organic process.
Absolutely. Rob is in no way is like a musical dictator, like it just nothing's set in stone. So it makes it fun,
Nice. So you mentioned Old Grandad, your band, and you sang in that band as well as drummed, correct?
Yeah. All three of us sang, and on each album I would have at least 3 songs where I sang lead on it. But I'm singing parts here and there on almost every song, and vocals ranging from death metal to Ozzy Osbourne type of vocals. So we were kind of all over the place. And we're still together. We put out a new album in 2019, a self-titled album. That's our 5th album. And a couple weeks ago, we just reissued our first 2 albums on vinyl for the first time. So those first 2 records are available on vinyl at hectic.com. And we're talking about doing a show before the year is up. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard because I'm going to be on tour for the better part of the year, starting in October. And those guys live out of the state now. But we're talking about getting together and doing a gig before the new year. So I love that band. I mean, we were very active in the 90s and early to mid 2000s. And it was a lot of fun playing those shows. We never toured, which is kind of ridiculous considering we were around for so long. But we would play so often in the Bay Area, it felt like we were on tour. Sometimes we would play like 15 to 18 shows a month just in San Francisco and Oakland, or the surrounding Bay Area. So we were really busy for a long time and very fun. Like people call it drug metal.
Nice. I like it. Cool. Drug metal. Very
yeah.
Cool. I love that. So with your, sorry, I'm kind of circling back a little bit here. With your DJing, you obviously listen to a lot of different music. Are there any bands right now, kind of up and coming bands right now that you're into and you think other people should be checking out?
Sure. I mean, locally, I love Necrot. I mean, they're not so underground anymore. They're starting to make a name for themselves, but I love both their albums, and they're making the Oakland death metal scene proud, Who else? I love Blood Incantation. I think they're killer. Another band that's blowing up kind of. Tomb Mold. I think there's a lot of great new death metal bands coming out. They're taking the slower death metal approach, not so blast beaty and just, typewriter double bass going off all the time. It's a little more organic sounding and a slower vibe, like a la Obituary or Grave or something like that. Yeah. So I'm digging a lot of those bands that are coming out now. So a Spectral Voice, another good band. A lot of great bands coming out, man.
Nice, very cool. Well, I don't want to keep you all night, but I'll ask you. I got one last question for you. So my page is Brews and Tunes. I pair heavy metal albums with craft beer. So right now I'm having a beer. So anyway, so Will Carroll, you're hanging out on a Saturday night, Friday night. You know, just finished up a gig or finished up DJing. You know, what beer do you crack open and what album do you spin to relax to that beer?
You know, since my whole ordeal, I've kind of given up drinking beer. I'm not much of a beer drinker anymore. You know, I drink vodka sodas now.
Oh, okay.
But before that, what would I do? Okay, I would probably put on. I'd probably put on a David Bowie album. I like to listen to Bowie at home just to mellow out, you know. And what kind of beer? It would like. I would, you know, I hate to self-promote, but I got a ton of Death Angel beer in my kitchen. So I would drink a Caster of Shame. That's a delicious beer. I do drink that sometimes. I'm not completely anti-beer. It's just not my go-to thing anymore. I'm more of a vodka guy now. But I would drink a Caster of Shame, Death Angel Caster of Shame, and put on David Bowie's Station to Station.
Oh, great album. I love that album. That's a great album. Yeah, I need to get a hold of that beer. I've been, it's, you know, being in Utah, it's a little tricky to get stuff in state sometimes just with our weird laws. So yeah, I've always wanted to try that one.
It's just, actually the last beer we put out was a stout. And even when I was a heavy beer drinker, I was never into stouts. So Caster of Shame is the way to go for me, man. It's delicious. And it gets you good and hammered, man. Good and hammered.
Nice. How did sorry, I know I just said I'm going to ask you one last question. I have another question for you. How did that come about, the Death Angel beer? How did you guys connect with the brewery? Like whose idea was that?
It came from them. Someone working there was a fan of the band, or is a fan of the band, and just reached out to us. They started doing like specialty beers. Like they made a beer for BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit. They have a BART beer, you know, and apparently it sells out. It's the best-selling beer they have. So, you know, all their beers, well, not all of them, but a lot of their beers were starting to have themes, you know. And so they reached out to Death Angel. We were the first band they worked with. Since then, they've done a Heathen beer, and I think that's it. But yeah, we've done 4 beers for them now, and it's a great relationship. You know, every time they have a new beer, we have a release party at their brewery in Oakland, and the whole band is there, and we have T-shirts to give out, and you know, it's just fun. It's a fun vibe. So I think the next thing on our horizon though is hot sauce. We're going to tackle the hot sauce realm.
I like that. I like that a lot. That sounds awesome. Well, very cool. Well, Will, this has been a pleasure speaking with you. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Yeah, this was great. And yeah, everybody out there, catch Death Angel on tour this fall. It's going to be badass. Bay Area Strikes Back, Exodus, Testament, Death Angel. It's a killer tour, so you'll definitely not want to miss that.
And I guarantee by the time you see me on that tour, my beard will be down to here.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was a little surprised when you came out. I was expecting, the last time I saw you, you had a pretty big beard. So
yeah. People are so shocked when I shave, but like since I've joined Death Angel, I've shaved my beard off, totally shaved it off at least 5 times. Like every like year and a half, maybe 2 years, I shave it off. You know, I just get sick of it. And for me, like if my beard grew straight down, I would just let it grow forevermore. But when it gets to a certain point, it starts growing outward and starts growing out of my neck and all. Like it's just like unmanageable. You know? So yeah, so I guarantee you, for all those people disappointed I don't have a beard, I will have a beard on the tour.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. That was great.
Right on, man.